I cannot believe Dante's outrageous writings. He is leading the people astray, away from the church. He has the nerve to write that the emperor's right to rule comes from God. Blasphemy! The emperor's right to rule comes from none other than the Pope. Me. The deepest level of hell. How dare he defy me? What does he mean there's a place reserved for me? And what is he talking about finding clerics in hell? How could we, being the voice of God on earth, be damned to hell? I'll take care of him. I'll have him exiled, where no one will ever see him or hear from him again. And I have not even mentioned Marsilius. Who does he think he is, arguing for the separation of the secular from the spiritual? Without the spiritual, the secular is nothing. Without me, what would the people live for? What? I am the very mouthpiece of God, the one whom the people need to get to heaven. I was ordained by God himself. Marsilius says the church should be under civil authorities. Civil! This is what he writes about the papacy. That it is the cause of the trouble which prevails among men. He is blaming all of humanity's sufferings on the church. He also proposes the seizure of church property and the elimination of tithes. He desires that the papacy becomes just an honorary preeminence without any authority to interpret the scriptures or define dogma. I want this irreverent filth burned at stake. I must do something to stop this despicable conduct. I will write a letter to the king, King Philip IV, stating the true nature of the papal power, in case he has forgotten. My advisors have informed me that King Philip had the audacity to publicly burn my letter. He has turned his back on the church, and here I was giving him the chance to repent, mend his ways, and come back to the church, and he indulges me with this. Unbelievable. Who does he think has more power? Surely he can't think of it to be him himself. I can't sit back and do nothing. I have to get the people back under the church's control. I must regain papal power. I know I shall enforce a new edict, a public bull for all the people. It will declare that subjection to the Pope is the only way one is to be saved. That will have to quiet them.
Boniface VIII addresses the people of the empire.
Spain, France, Italy. Does it matter where you're from? Of course not. You are all under the Roman Empire, and that should be more than enough. Enough with this idea of being from independent countries. Without Rome, you are nothing. Without the church, you are nothing. Your sole allegiance is to be pledged to the church, not your individual state. We must be in one accord, under God, the true and highest supremacy. Do not sit or stand and inquire about who has the highest authority. God himself does, and has appointed the church and his authority on earth, not the state. In these regards, I, Pope Boniface VIII of Rome, hereby issue the bull of Unam Sanctum. The bull states, the church should be in unity, and in that union the Pope is the sole and absolute head of the church. Therefore, of the one and only church, there is one body and one head, not two heads like a monster. Furthermore, we are informed by the texts of the Gospels that in this church and in its power are two swords, namely the spiritual and the temporal. On account of its greatness and sublimity, the lower spiritual power is judged by the higher spiritual power. Thus, the temporal authorities must submit to the spiritual authorities. For with truth as our witness, it belongs to spiritual power to establish the terrestrial power and to pass judgment if it has not been good. Indeed, we declare, say, pronounce, and define that it is altogether necessary for salvation for every human creature to be subject to the Roman Pontiff.